So welcome to my garage. I haven't shown my garage too often on my channel, and I'm not going to give you a full tour of it today, but right now I'm sitting here on my trusty Triumph Bonneville. You can see the seat, and right here is my Ducati Monster. Now I'm probably going to take this device out on my Monster and give it a go on that first, and maybe my Bonneville as well. Right here is my Honda Africa Twin. It's a 2024 Africa Twin, the new model with the 19-inch front wheel. It has CarPlay and all that stuff already. Works okay once you figure out how to make it work, and I'll put a video up here for those of you that have had trouble with that. So let's pop over here to my workbench and take a look at this product. Okay, so when you look at the Carpuride product, what can you expect out of the box? Well, as I mentioned earlier, of course it supports Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So all the functionality you would expect from that, if you have that in your cars, we should expect the same functionality with this device as well. It has an intercom function. And basically what that should enable, it should enable communication between riders or with passengers to help enhance those group rides or passenger communication. And yes, it connects directly to your Cardo headset system or whatever system you happen to be using via Bluetooth. Now, I talked about Bluetooth. So this has dual Bluetooth. What that means is it allows connection to multiple devices simultaneously, such as the smartphone and a Bluetooth headset. And that helps facilitate, or should help facilitate, sort of uninterrupted audio and communication. It offers real-time directional and altitude information. So it's got a compass and barometer built in. So those of you that like to venture off-road, it automatically adjusts screen brightness based on sort of the ambient light to ensure that you've got visibility in all sort of environments, which is something I found to be honestly really lacking on just by using a smartphone. The smartphone displays just tend to be challenged a little bit, and I find that that really compromises the experience. Especially, you know, if I compare that to my Garmin Zumo device, which is what I've been using for navigation primarily. Now, this unit also comes out of the box with the BMW Motorrad connectivity. So that BMW mount, it supports that BMW Motorrad connectivity natively, and we'll show you that mount in a moment. So apparently the cool kids like to do unboxing videos. It's a thing apparently, so let's do it. This is the box it comes with. It's the Carpuride 702B Pro. And what do we have inside the box? Well, here's the unit itself. You can see it has a sunshade built in, which is handy. Instruction manual, an actual paper instruction manual. What else have we got here? All right, this is the U-bolt. So this is the universal mount that for our ride we'll be using the universal mount. So this will connect up to any any motorcycle basically, and then it just uses a ram mount, so you can change the angle of it. So we'll probably use this, although we don't need to because I have ram mounts installed on my bikes as well. Now I talked earlier about the BMW motorcycle bracket. This is the instruction manual for that. All right. And I actually think it was really smart of them to think about this. So it actually comes pre-built, connected here with that BMW motorcycle mount. And so I assume that I'll need to take this off for the purposes of my demo because I don't have a BMW motorcycle. Oh. Comes with a spare fuse, which is handy. Always recommend having one of these around. This is something that every toolkit should have, is a few set of fuses when you're on the road. You'd be surprised at how often when you have an issue, it's a fuse issue. This is all your wiring. So this will be for tying into your power supply on your bike. And this is just a standard USB power supply. So you could either wire it directly to your power supply, your battery or wherever it is, or directly into your USB port on your motorcycle if you have one. Now, you'll see that it comes standard with this BMW mount here. And so it's actually attached standard in the box with this model. Now, we need to remove this, and the Phillips head screws are kind of in here on either side, which off the bat is problematic. Not everyone has a screwdriver to get in there that easily, but we'll take it off and see how easy it is. All right, so that's off now. And what we have here is just a circuit board. Okay, so a little bit of feedback here for anyone that's installing this. I talked about the BMW bracket that was just by default installed on the back of the unit. Now, I had to take this off, and you take off 4 little tiny screws. You can probably hardly even see them here. 4 of these little screws, right? But that's not all. If you actually want to get to the actual mount that you're going to need for the universal mount here, you need to get to this. And this thing, well, that was also pretty tough to get to because it was behind this bracket here, which has another 4 minuscule, tiny little screws. You got to take that off. And then when you take that off, well, this piece, which was just mounted like that on the BMW mount, just comes out. And once that's out, well, you're ready to mount it to the universal mount. So that's problematic. Maybe it would be good if the Carpuride guys could maybe just sell a version with and without the BMW mount. All we need to do now is attach this ram ball mount here, and they give you all the screws you need to do that. And then it's going to attach nicely to the ram mount, and we're good to go. Okay, so it's going to be really important that when you attach this ball, this ram mount ball, to the adapter that was on the back of the BMW mount, that's a little square, goes in like that. And it's important that you retain the bigger of the Phillips screws that this was connected to the BMW base with, because it's just going to pop in that little hole here. We're going to screw it back in. All right. Really important that you don't lose any of these really small screws, because they're really small. Okay, you with me? So now that this is done, it's going to be really simple to just loosen up this ram mount, pop it in, and you're good to go, right? And that end will clamp onto your motorcycle. Or you don't have to do that either. If you've already got a ram mount, you can just take this off and pop it on. But we're not fully done yet, because now I have to attach this to this. And to do that, again, these little screws you took out, make sure you don't lose them, because you're going to reuse them now. Okay, so off the bat, one thing that you should realize is that this does not have a built-in battery. So unlike a device like this, the Garmin device that has a built-in battery, it requires a power supply to work. So we're going to need to do that. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can install it directly to your battery supply on your bike. Now, in my case, I'm going to do it with my Triumph Bonneville, because it's just easier to get to the battery, and for the purposes of this, it just makes more sense. Now, it comes with a harness, but it doesn't come with these little suckers, which every battery harness should have. It just comes with the naked wires. So if you don't actually have a couple of these loop connectors, you're going to need to get some of those. I happen to have a couple, so that's good. The other thing that is really important to understand is that it has a very specific USB power requirement rating. So if you want to plug it into your bike's USB power supply, it needs to, the port needs to support a voltage or current less than 5 volts or 2.5 amps. Now, I'm not sure if it's just my unit, but I have actually tried just plugging this in to just a standard USB port at my home with a power supply, and I can't get it to power on yet. Now, to power it on, there's a button up here. You're supposed to hold it down for a long time, like 5 seconds, and it's supposed to power on. It's not powering on through this power supply. So if you're used to having a device where you need to charge the battery anywhere, like the Garmin device, and then set it all up on your phone and then take it over to your bike and use it regardless of whether or not you've got it hardwired to the bike, then you're out of luck with this one. That's not going to work. Now, I'm hoping that when I connect it to the battery on the bike, I'm going to get some power, because I'm not getting it right now. So to do that, you're going to need to get your cables here, splice off that extra rubber, give it a nice twirl, and obviously do that on both sides before you wire it up to your battery harness. And as I said, you're going to need a couple of these guys that don't come with the unit, so you're going to have to get those from your local hardware store or whatever. Make sure that's inserted in there nice and tight. Get those pliers. You've got your L loop here. Now, it's probably worth reminding folks that maybe haven't disconnected a battery before, or maybe connected a battery, that it's really important that when you're disconnecting the battery, that you remove the negative wire first. So that's the negative wire, and then the positive wire. When you're reinstalling that battery or reinstalling the connectors, you do it the opposite way. So you connect the positive wire and then the negative wire. Okay, so I suppose now is the moment of truth. Now, one of the things I like about these is they do have waterproof connectors, which is really nice. And I've got it connected up to my battery here. So I'm going to plug it in. So that connector there tightens up. Got it all plugged in directly into the battery. Oh, and here we go. So we have lights, camera, action. Yeah, so that took a little bit longer than I expected, and it probably explains a lot. This is a really well-priced device, and I think part of the reason for that is because it doesn't actually have a built-in battery, and batteries obviously cost a lot when it comes to building these devices, especially if they're lithium batteries. So we have lights, camera, action. This is great. Next up, we'll connect it up to the bike, and then we'll connect it to CarPlay. Okay, so this device comes with a universal U-mount. Now that U-bolt mount, for my use case on a Triumph Bonneville, just didn't quite fit the way I wanted it to. It would have scratched some of the paint, which I didn't want to do. So what I've done is I have actually installed my own mount. This is just a standard ram mount, and this just screws straight into the triple clamp here. And then I just use the spare mount that I had. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so the piste de resistance. Man, it is a huge screen. It looks a lot bigger, I think, on video. It's a 7-inch screen. You can see here is that I've got my own ram mount that I was talking about right here, which fits well with the Triumph triple clamp. So now that we've got it installed, well, I'm going to need to tidy up some of the wiring here, make it look nice and fresh and clean, and then we'll actually set it up in the CarPlay mode. Okay, so here we are presented with a, somewhat familiar user interface. And I haven't set up Apple CarPlay yet, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set that up. First thing we need to do is connect our phone to the system. So we'll go to settings, Bluetooth, your phone is discoverable, click refresh. You'll get a pairing request on your phone, something like this, which I have. Make sure it matches that number, devices, and we're going to connect it to my iPhone. And we're going to collect to hands-free mode, and then you'll see straight away that my CarPlay is all set up. You can see all the things I'd expect to be seeing here. All my apps. This is how it comes set up, and here's Maps, Apple Maps, and we've got Google Maps as well, and everything you'd expect. So all looks pretty familiar, right? All right, everyone, so now that everything is installed, we've got to make sure that this all works well on the Cardo unit. And the great news about that is it's really simple. So long as you've set up Apple CarPlay, you're good to go. Your Cardo unit obviously should stay connected to your phone. Don't pair the Cardo unit with the actual Carpuride device itself. Make sure it just stays paired with your phone, which I've done. So I suppose every good demo has to end with some good music, right? I can listen to my podcasts. They're all basically MotoGP podcasts. I can go back and choose some music. And I've got some good, some New Zealand music here. I think we might just play a New Zealand band that the Australians like to always call themselves. Australian, but they're not. So a bit of Crowded House. So there you have it. I'll say that once it's actually installed and set up, it's so far it looks really great. So today's the day. Today is the day that I'm going to take the bike out for a ride, and for me, for this mount, the best motorcycle for me to fit this to was my Triumph Bonneville. This big screen, it's big. I actually am really curious about it because I'm a little bit skeptical about having a screen this big. It might just be because I'm on an older bike, well, a modern older bike. What I'm most interested in is actually, I'm not going to go this way, is actually the glare. Because what I found is that a smartphone on like a quad lock, just too much glare. It's just doesn't work. Not for me anyway, with my old eyes. Now the Garmin dedicated GPS device, the Zumo XT, is great. This screen looks really bright right now, and it does have automatic brightness depending on the time of day, which is nice. This screen is pretty impressive, I have to say. It's been a while since I've been out on my Bonneville. This is actually the only motorcycle, street bike I have that has a full system exhaust on it. So it's definitely loud. I tend to not like full system exhausts on street bikes. I feel they're a bit rude. But yeah, I just put my visor down, which is a tinted visor. My glasses are fogging up a little bit, so that's also a good way to test the screen. So yeah, nice and bright. Now, really, this Carpuride product is literally a mirror of the Apple operating system, right? So it's not trying to do much else than that. But if you decide you don't want to use it for CarPlay or Android, it'll happily be an MP3 player. It'll happily be a compass. It'll happily do those things. But again, it'll be a proprietary music player or whatever it is you decide to plug into it.
I think the majority of people are going to want to use this for what I'm using it for now. Either they have a dedicated Garmin device for GPS today and they really like it and don't want to look at a small screen, then maybe the Garmin software, which isn't very good, is just kind of frustrating for them when they're used to using Apple Maps and other products. Or B, like I mentioned earlier, they've been using their smartphone, and now, well, the smartphone is essentially the same thing as what we're looking at now. It has drawbacks, right? The cameras in them can get messed up when you're riding with them. You have to have a special vibration mount, like the one that Quadlock sell. That's one thing. I mentioned the screen is not as bright. That's another thing. So there's a whole lot of things that aren't perfect for the smartphone use case. Whereas this, it's a dedicated device for one thing. And so far, it's super nice. Just going to check out the Siri functionality. Hey Siri, what's the weather forecast?
Looks like it will be cloudy today.
Oh, there you go.
Temperatures will hover around 40.
Oh, that's good. So that worked really nicely. Hey Siri. Hey Siri. Send a text message.
To who?
Kristen. Is everything okay at home? Question mark. So that text message with Siri worked pretty good, and I will tell you that Siri doesn't work very well for me with my accent. It really struggles to understand where I'm from, what I am, because I've been living all over the world and my accent's kind of differed over the years. So that's good. And so now I've arrived at Madison Park Beach, and what I want to do now is I'm just going to end the route and I'm going to listen to my podcast. Really nice. I think Simon's actually talking about the new multi-strata in this one. Oh, I like the multi-strata, Simon. So we'll pause that. So I've just shown you the texting Siri use case, the mapping use case, the player podcast use case, and I could have done all of that fine with no hands. And what's interesting is I've actually found that the smartphone, even a dedicated iPhone in this use case, is hit or miss for whatever reason. But with this, it worked straight away, which is nice. So if I want to get into the actual settings for the Carpuride unit, I click on Car Home, and here what we have is a proprietary setup that you can go and do. Right, so your memory card, if you want to play music over Bluetooth, okay, so it's telling me that while I'm connected to CarPlay I can't do that. But if you just want to play music over Bluetooth and you don't want to do CarPlay, you can do that. If you just want to make a phone call, you can do that as well. Again, I'm connected to CarPlay, so it's not going to work. I can go into various settings here, make sure I've got the right firmware, Wi-Fi, all of that fun stuff, language settings. You notice I'm doing all of this with my gloves, which is really nice. I mean, so for now, if I want to go back to CarPlay, I just press iPlay and I'm back. It's a really nice day here in Seattle. Maybe I'll take the drone up and get some footage. Right now I'm going to go back and listen to some music, a bit of New Zealand music here, just to keep you all company. Turn the volume down a little bit. We'll just go for a short ride through the Arboretum here in Seattle, which is really nice. The thing I love about the Bonneville is it's just a good, old-fashioned, no excuses motorcycle. I mean, it looks like an old-fashioned motorcycle, right? But it has all the modern accoutrements of a modern classic. And just frankly, it just looks like a motorcycle should look. But this is not a Bonneville review. This is a Carpuride review. So far, really solid piece of kit. There are a few things that I'll cover off at the end of the review. Just a few things that I think hold it back. And it's mainly, I would say, on the fit and finish of the packaging, the mount options, and the instructions that come with it. Could be a lot better. Now, if you're relatively technical and don't mind getting a screwdriver out, then you can get through it. But depending on the bike, the U-bolt that it comes with is not going to be perfect. It wasn't for this, and this is a pretty standard bike. If you've got a BMW, that's awesome, but if you don't, you saw me fiddling around with all the screws I had to take out to get it to mount on just a standard RAM mount. It feels like this was designed for cars first and motorcycles second, which I think is probably true. It's probably designed, I think, for cars that don't have CarPlay or Android Auto and want it. So I think if I was working for Carpuride, first of all, I'd have a motorcycle brand, not call it Carpuride. But I would think about the motorcycle use case a little bit more, maybe offer some better mounting options, maybe even offer a smaller unit as well. I mean, even on a big adventure bike, I think that this is going to look pretty big. I mean, it looks huge on my little Bonneville. Well, little, when I say little, it's a, you know, it's a 1200cc motorcycle. Sorry, 1100cc motorcycle. So those sorts of things I think would be good. All the support material, the website all looks pretty good, pretty user friendly. I mean, I know this is a Chinese company, I think, or it is. And I tell you what, the Chinese are putting out some really great kit these days, especially in the area of technology. You know, the camera that I'm filming this on is Chinese. It's a DJI. I also have Insta360 camera, another Chinese camera. The software, the Chinese are really doing a good job on the technology front, and they're starting to push into actually making motorcycles as well, as we know, with like the CF Moto products and things. I think that'll take them a little bit longer, probably very similar to when the Japanese first got into making motorcycles. But when it comes to accessories and electronics, they're really doing some incredible products, and you know, my hat's off to them. And I'm going to be putting a affiliate link in this review. I don't do this for a living. It's not my day job. I just do this for fun. But Jack's offering a 30% discount of this device for those that are interested in it, and click on the affiliate link in the description. So if this is your cup of tea, something you'd like, then take a look at it. I generally don't like to listen to music while I ride. For me, I just want to be 100% focused on the road. Sometimes I'll listen to a podcast. That's a little bit different. Music tends to give you a false sense of happiness, I suppose, at times. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it does. Makes you feel a little bit more confident. Maybe you hear a song and you're like, oh yeah, let's get on the throttle. And so I try to avoid the music for that reason. Days like today, though, you can't help but be happy because the sun is shining in Seattle in the winter, which is a very rare thing. So one of the things I forgot to mention while we're on the topic of mounts, it really needs a quick release mount. Because you can imagine when I pull over at a shop or a coffee shop, you know, I'm not going to want to leave this on the bike. It's just too big, it's too tempting for someone. And so to take it off, I have to unscrew the ram mount, which is pretty easy, but it's just another thing, and then I got to screw it back on. So a quick release mount would be good, similar to what Garmin have.
So, the $1,000,000 question. How did I like it? I think it's a great device with a great screen. It's got very good Bluetooth connectivity. Actually, probably the best Bluetooth connectivity that I've seen in devices lately. I find that Bluetooth can be really flaky. I like the fact that it works with my gloves on, and it's a really good price. Now, I'm not paid to do these reviews. These are my opinions. There are some cons. The install was a bit messy, and the instructions could be clearer around that. You saw that in the video. Little things like having proper battery connectors for the terminal, that should just be a no-brainer for any brand. I was disappointed in the mount options. Great if you're a BMW owner, not so great otherwise. I just happen to have some RAM mounts lying around that I could use, but not everyone might have those. Would I buy one? Probably not. And it's not because it's a bad device or anything. It's just that for me, I prefer not to have too much going on when I'm riding my motorcycle. If you really want that type of functionality and you need that, then I would say, honestly, it's a great device. It's much better than a smartphone. I just find the smartphones to be a pain in the ass when it comes to riding a motorcycle. I really only use them for my cardo connectivity. Other than that, they're just a distraction. And I frankly just got sick of fussing around with various mount options on phones. I don't need them on my motorcycle, but that's just me. So look, it's a Good device, works great, better than I thought it would work. But for my use case, it's not something I'm going to buy. But for a lot of you out there, it probably is. So I hope this video is useful. If it was, please like and subscribe. As I said, this is not my day job. It's something I do for a bit of fun, and I do put effort into making these videos. And if there's content you'd like to see from a channel that I'm not covering, put a comment below and let me know. I'll see you later. And thanks Carpuride for providing this device to review. Cheers.